I went on a road trip to Mount Desert Island in Maine. I went to meet up with another painter and with a photographer, neither of whom had seen fall color before. We did a lot of sightseeing and a fair bit of sketching. I'll use my sketchbook to show you where we went and what we saw. We started in Acadia National Park, and our first painting location was Otter Cliffs. The granite here is a fascinating color, but I focused in on one little rock swamped in waves. I did attempt a larger study of the cliff, but the drawing was clumsy. But the view here was just spectacular, and the color on those rocks was unlike what we have at home, so it was a real pleasure to paint here. From Otter Point, or Otter Cliffs, we did some hiking until it was time for our reservation to go to the top of Cadillac Mountain for sunset. Now, we got there before sunset, but parking was a challenge, so we arrived on location just as the sun hit the horizon. We watched the colorful sunset, and then we got out our paint kits to try and capture the beautiful glow that remained in the sky for a short but precious time. I made a very fast sketch, and the paint ran down the page as soon as I put it on. But for once, I was smart enough to leave the paint runs alone, and so the flow of the paint is part of what makes this sketch special to me. The next day, we got up early, and we hit the road before heading inland. We went to Baxter State Park, which is the northern end of the Appalachian Trail. We were in full-on leaf color hunting mode, and we found some. We also found a view of Mount Katahdin reflecting in a large pond. We had just enough time there for a quick sketch, and then we went onwards into the mountains. There was a lot of driving that day, and it was beautiful countryside we went through, but the day was fast escaping us, so we stopped as soon as we found a good spot to paint. There was a brief hike into a pond, and when I got here, I made my painting all about the sky, which had been changeable and beautiful and interesting all day. So the left-hand side of my sketchbook shows a very changeable macro sky with the sun low to the horizon, and the second one, the sky had sort of evened out and the water had calmed, and I worked on capturing the way the sky reflected in the water. This one isn't finished, but nonetheless, it was very good practice to work on this. We returned to Acadia to paint the ocean again, and this day our location was dictated by finding a spot sheltered from the wind. Tucked into the cliffs at Sand Beach was a perfect spot. I really liked the pattern of these boulders dotting the sand and the people dotting the boulders. I did a quick sketch, and I realized the sketch is imperfect, but I'm already working on studies from it in the studio, so I'm looking forward to getting more work on those. I did another study of those cliffs and the tumbled boulders. This was more of a close-up, and the way the light sort of fell across those cliffs was fascinating. On our last day, this time we went to Rockland and we visited the Farnsworth Museum, and then we went on to Camden, where I have some paintings in a gallery, and then we had time for a final bit of sketching at Camden Harbor. For once, I didn't paint the boats, but rather I painted the elegant and elderly Camden Library. All too soon, our road trip was over. I packed up my painting kit and all my paintings, and I came home with a wealth of studies and paintings to work from over the winter. Thanks for coming along on my sketchbook tour with me.